Okay, I know it's been a while. It's been a while since you guys have seen me. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to get into it. But I've been up for a while and I have not eaten yet. So I'm going to make myself some breakfast first and then we'll get to chatting. Today's breakfast is going to be some Quaker banana nut protein oatmeal. One, two, three. Does anyone else not put the time in the microwave and you just hit add 30 seconds for however many times you want the time of your food to cook? I would normally have some coffee with my breakfast, but like I said, I've already been up and I've been sipping on this V8 energy. I'm not gonna add extra caffeine by making a coffee. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, you were starting to bubble. And I don't want no mess to clean. Bone apple tea. Now let's catch up. So where have I been? I actually recorded quite a few videos in the past few months that I clearly never used. And then at the end of December, I decided between January and March, I was going to have quiet time when it comes to social media. So I didn't delete the apps on my phone because I wanted to be able to post if I wanted to, like on Instagram, or if people would send me stuff for events and things I needed to look at. But I gave myself the lowest amount of time I could give myself an allowance for in the screen time app. So if I'm on a social media app for more than 60 seconds, I get shut down. But yeah, I just wanted to take some quiet time to not be so invested in other people's lives, but really like look into my own and figure out what's next for me. In one of my past videos, I talked about what I was going through mentally. And while I did recover from that, at this point in time, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't setting myself up for failure moving forward. So I planned to not do any YouTube videos between the months of January and March. But basically, in all the time that I haven't posted, which I think if I go to my channel right now, it's like 5 months, I've pretty much just been living life off camera and enjoying it, truly. I believe I told you guys this in one of my last 2 videos, but I'm not sure. So just in case I didn't, I did leave Phoenix and move back to Atlanta. Phoenix was just giving desolate desert. I can do desert, but I can't do desolate. So I had to go. I was just feeling really lonely. And I've lived away from home before for longer than I was in Phoenix, and I did not feel lonely. I still had community there. I had a church home, like things like that. I just did not have those things in Phoenix. Granted, I probably could have put in a little more effort, but the few things that I did go to, I just didn't get a sense of connection. And so I did eventually decide to leave. Now, I did talk about this in the video that I was driving to work that day, and I gave you guys an update from Phoenix. When I knew for sure that I was going to leave Phoenix, I was contemplating between going back to LA or coming back to Atlanta. And the thought behind that was I was in LA when I got the job in Phoenix, and ultimately I had no plans to leave LA. I just was going to take the job, work remotely in LA during my remote weeks, and then come to Phoenix to be in the office for my in-office weeks, which that setup is currently 3 weeks remote and then 1 week in office. Why did my computer just go off? I need my notes, bro. I truly hope that entire last shot was not out of focus. But anyway, in the end, I decided that I wanted to be closer to family. I had a new niece coming. She was born in September. I just felt a sense of like needing to be around family at that time. I officially transferred my job location to Atlanta, like at the end of the year, like November-ish. Had to change teams and like the jurisdictions that I work for work, and we'll talk more about my work a little bit later. What else has been going on? I entered a new decade of life, celebrated my 30th birthday, had a grand old time, realized that some of the things I thought would be milestones for 30, I had high expectations. But it's cool. I've resolved those thoughts. I've come to peace with those expectations that I've had for myself, and I've learned to live life for what it is right now. I did also get approved for an apartment here in Atlanta, which does mean I'll be setting down roots. So not going anywhere anytime soon, because those who know me know I'm good for getting up and moving somewhere. I actually had a few spurts of where I thought I was going to move like in the past couple of months, but I'm officially going to be settled in Atlanta, at least for the next year. So yeah, I'll be moving into my new apartment in 2 weeks, and I am so excited to have my own space, which I do have right now because the parentals are out of town this weekend, and I'm truly enjoying my peace, my quiet, my space. Give it all to me. Oh baby, bring it all to me. Okay. Anyway, speaking of moving, I gotta get moving on this day, so I'm gonna finish my breakfast and catch up with y'all in a minute. So let's continue where we left off. We were talking about what I've been up to since I've been away. Something that I needed to do and have been wanting to do was start therapy. I'm talking in-person therapy. I want to sit on your couch and open my heart, okay? So remember in that one particular video, I discussed being in a really low place mentally, and that I had reached a point of having suicidal ideations. Though I was no longer feeling that way by the end of this year, honestly, at all in 2023, just because I didn't feel that way on the outside doesn't necessarily mean that the root of those thoughts and those feelings wasn't still there. So that was something that I wanted to work out and needed to work out. And that was honestly my therapist's primary focus. We don't talk about it in every session, but she does do check-ins. I really am in a great place. I have come to the conclusion that the root of those things is feeling a lack of self-worth, which is not normal for me, but I think because of how my journey was going in trying to switch careers and navigating a lot of rejection between the entertainment industry in the past and then now trying to get into this new industry and not feeling good enough and dealing with imposter syndrome and all of that, I just wasn't truly confident in myself as I usually am. So I had to get back to me, and I can truly say I am feeling 100% like myself again, honestly, even better. But actually, the reason that I started therapy, like the first time going, was because Skillstorm came back around. I had the opportunity to interview and potentially work with Skillstorm again, and the job would have caused for me to relocate to Orlando. I was open to it, but I was in a relationship at that time and wasn't sure. Oh my God, this sounds like a replay of when I was doing Revature, I think. I was in a relationship at that time and wasn't sure if that move was the right move to make, considering where we wanted to take our relationship. But I also know myself, and I don't crave stability. I don't need stability, as crazy as that sounds. I like to move about in life. Basically, I wasn't sure if I should take the job. I didn't even have the offer yet. I was in the interview process, so I really don't know why I was stressing myself about it in the first place. But let me rewind. Do I want to do a separate video? No, I'm gonna just tell you how it went right now. In January of this year, I reached out to that recruiter just because I was curious if I could potentially go through the process and start the job, since I was soon to be 2 years out of my time working with Revature. And that was the reason that I couldn't take the job with them before. So I reached out to that recruiter, and she's like, yeah, let's get your process started now. We'll set you up for an interview. In the first call, she immediately told me about the job that I would be, potentially going for and starting, that it started in February. I was going to have to relocate to Orlando. I was like, whoa, this all came so fast. Like, I was just trying to put a tester out there and see if I could reapply and come back. But she was immediately like, let's go. But I tell her, let's do it. I'm going to do the interview. She and I do a mock interview over the phone. Now, she's not a technical person, so she can't really tell me if my answers are right or wrong. And the questions are primarily on object-oriented programming. But I'm really comfortable with object-oriented programming. I did study beforehand, but I'm also comfortable with it. So that studying was just a good refresher, and I knew all the answers to all the questions she was answering me. So even though she wasn't sure, I think she was like looking at a paper to make sure I was kind of answering on track. I knew what I was talking about. So we set up the interview, and she told me, you can't interview with a instructor or something like that. You have to interview with a director of technology or something like that, because I can't remember what his exact title was, but it's someone who's higher up. And the reason being is that I interviewed with them before and got through the interview process. So I guess they had higher expectations. I do all the other parts of the process, the coding challenge, the little cognitive test, blah, blah, blah. Technical interview comes around. He asks me questions. I'm answering. You know, I got this in the bag. But then he started asking me some weird questions that, you know, are not in the materials. And they emphasize that their questions come from the materials. But because I understood programming, I answered based off of my knowledge. And I guess because my answer wasn't a for sure, like, yes, no, this, that, it was, oh, well, I've never done that before or heard of anyone trying to do that. But if I were to come up with a solution on my own, I would say this works like this works like this. So if I put them together, this would be my result. I think that's a pretty solid answer, but I did not pass the interview. So I speak with the recruiter again, and she lets me know, and she's like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to set you up to speak with one of our technical recruiters, and he's going to do it with you to see where your gaps in knowledge are. We do the interview, and he's like, you know everything. You have really textbook answers. So the only thing I would say is to answer in your own words. Sir, I am answering in my own words. I can't help that I truly understand the concept, so it sounds like textbook answers. Anyway, that happens. We rescheduled me for another interview with somebody who's higher up, and I did not pass. And long story short, he kind of just flat out said to me during the interview process that some people very well could make great engineers, great developers, but maybe Skillstorm is just not the right program for them. And so I feel like that was the case for me, that their minds were already made up, or God hardened their hearts. And that's fine, because sometimes life just has to happen like that when you're not meant to take certain opportunities. Long story short, I went to therapy for that and didn't need to because the door was closed from the jump. So since we talked about Skillstorm and that I was potentially going to be taking another job, let's talk about what I do professionally now. What I do is not technical. I actually work in claims, auto insurance claims. And it is not what I envisioned myself doing as a child professionally. Honestly, as a kid, I never thought I would hold a 9-to-5. I just knew that was not for me. And honestly, if I had better discipline as a young person, I probably would have ended up in a different career field or gone into entrepreneurship sooner. I never saw myself doing auto insurance claims. And when I first got into it, I was like, oh, this is tolerable. And oh, like maybe I never hated work, but the job itself is not what I envisioned myself doing. That was kind of part of my motivation in trying to transition to tech, is because I started to write this in my journal one day, and then I caught myself. I said, I don't want to help people for a living. That's what I was attempting to write in my journal. But before I could even finish the sentence, it hit me so hard how when I was growing up, when I was a kid and a teenager, when people would ask you what you're passionate about and that would point you to what you should do for a living, I would always say, I want to help people. I didn't envision it would be like this, but I help people every day. It's not a problem for real. I do get some fulfillment out of it. Is it what I want to continue to do for the long haul? No. But if God has different plans for me, His will be done. Like Jesus said in the garden, if you can please take this cup, take it. but your will be done. We're here for now, and I've found a sense of comfort in my role. I've honestly developed a sense of contentedness in life in general, and I think that's what helped me get out of that dark place that I was in 2022, because I was just grasping, trying to find something to grasp onto. And now it's like I've settled. Ooh. Settling has such a bad connotation, but that's another video. I've settled into myself. I have a sense of comfortability with my process, with the journey. So I'm not like rushing to get to where I want to go. I'm going to take my time, endure the process, and whatever that process entails. If it's a long journey, so be it. I do still see myself getting to that end goal, but I'm not trying to rush it anymore. I'm just taking life one day at a time and for what it is right now. That doesn't mean I don't want change. I can be content where I am right now. There's a scripture in the Bible actually from Paul. He basically says the same thing, where he's learned the key or the secret to life or something like that, is that whether I'm being shipwrecked, beaten, stoned, whatever, I am content in the good and the bad. And so I feel like I've learned that lesson for myself. I'm truly learning presence. That was my goal for like 2020 or 2021, to be here, to be present. 2021 was the year. I see that that's an ongoing lesson. I'm gonna keep learning. So the thing most of you have probably clicked on this video to find out, where am I when it comes to tech at this point in time? I haven't given up. I do still see becoming a software engineer, a software developer, as the goal for me career-wise. So I'm gonna still make strides toward that. I've actually applied for some technical roles within my company, some that really align with my current skills and what I do at this time in claims, but I just got rejection letters for both of them this week. So that's dead. But they weren't software developer roles. They were both technology analyst roles. I was kind of trying to use becoming a technology analyst as a stepping stool to work my way into becoming a software developer within my company. That was also me downplaying what I already know, downplaying my skills, and saying I'm not ready to straight up apply to an engineer role just yet. My next lesson is learning to let go of imposter syndrome when it comes to my technical skills. No one knows everything. We're all a work in progress, even people who have been developers for years. It's not a lesson that I have learned. It's a lesson that I need to learn. And I think I'm going to just start making strides to transition next into a software engineer role within my company, link up with a mentor, and see what I need to do. We actually had a Women in Tech Summit like a month ago that I attended online and learned a lot, found a lot of women that I can connect with and who are willing to be mentors to help guide other women into tech, because we want to see more of us in that environment, in that space. I did tell y'all, like maybe in my last video, that I started a software engineering bootcamp and that I was going to make another video telling y'all all about it. Started and ended it. It wasn't bad. It was going to be a year-long process, and I think I would have been down for that year-long process had I not left Arizona. I started the boot camp while I was still living in Phoenix. In that place of isolation, that actually probably would have been the perfect environment for me to stick out that program and see it through to the end. But I moved back home, which I feel like helped me mentally and emotionally. But I definitely lost focus when it came to the boot camp. The following test after I moved home is when I got my first deferral. And in this particular program, I was in App Academy boot camp, the part-time program, so it takes a year to finish. And you get 3 deferrals before you're done. On your 3rd deferral, they'll let you can come back, but if you fail a 4th test, then you're out. I technically decided I was done and failed the first one. Yeah, I knew I couldn't continue. And that was one of those things that I had to figure out at the top of this year between January and March, because I think my last weeks in the boot camp were in February. It was honestly a really good program. I learned a lot, and I want to continue to expound on that knowledge. I get in my way a lot. I ain't gonna lie. And I have gotten in my way a lot when it comes to this whole transition into tech. But I'm going to get there eventually. So what now going forward? Really just being happy, focusing on my life and all the other goals that I have always had before tech in that pursuit came along. One of those things is creating content, which actually in the time that I was away, I got my first YouTube check for $100. I wanted to make a whole thing out of it to include it in this video and share the celebration. I was sitting around waiting on that check to come in my mail, checking the mailbox daily. And something told me to go look at the app again. And I clicked the little info button and it said, you should receive your check between this date and this date if there's nothing wrong with your AdSense account. So I said, let me go check my AdSense. And I didn't have a bank account on there. Camera, stop recording. But yeah, they were never going to send a check. They were going to deposit it. So y'all just gonna get a screenshot. I have goals to grow and expand this channel outside of just tech. It definitely grew with me sharing my story about Revature and this whole journey of trying to make the transition. But that's not all there is to me. I think forgetting about the other parts of me contributed to that darkness from a couple years ago. So yeah, I'm just gonna welcome y'all into other areas of my life. Also, like I mentioned earlier, I've always had aspirations of entrepreneurship. A little bit to help my knowledge about what the process would entail, and then somehow found my way deciding to be a software engineer. All in all, I am just excited about life again, and I am glad to be back to this place, this space, mentally, emotionally, physically, for the most part, because I am still at the parents' house right now, but that's gonna change. Clearly, my mind is in a lot of places and my energy is higher, I'm noticing, and y'all will probably notice from past videos. Anyway, I'm gonna stop rambling. I'm excited to get back to YouTube, to start speaking with y'all again, to start sharing with y'all again, welcoming y'all into the journey. Yeah, let's grow together, let's learn together, all that good stuff. I didn't think about how to close this out, so I'm gonna just stop now. Bye.